It's Wednesday morning. The spotlight is on tourism headlines, events around the state, and interviews with tourism leaders. It's time for Spotlight on Florida, your source for tourism news. Right now on Spotlight on Florida, the legislative session has begun, and we'll show you some scenes from the Florida Capitol. Staying at the Capitol, Tourism Day brought hundreds of people to Tallahassee to spread the good word about tourism. And plans are changing at the Orlando Airport in terms of parking. We'll tell you what they have in store. I'm Joel Silver in the Spotlight on Florida Tourism News Studio. Let's start with some headlines. We start with coverage of the 2026 legislative session. The legislative session has begun in Tallahassee. The 60-day session is the time when new bills are proposed, and some of those will become new laws of the land. Lawmakers from districts around Florida travel to Tallahassee for the next 2 months to talk about various issues. And of course, one of those issues usually affects tourism. That's why Spotlight on Florida will be here, updating you on the latest activity. You're looking at scenes here of opening day of the legislature, and it always brings excitement at the Capitol as the House and Senate convene a joint session of the legislature. Opening day speeches from the House Speaker. The Senate President, as well as the Governor's State of the State address, gives us some insight regarding this session's hot topics. One issue already discussed was rural Florida. President Albritton has been focused on rural renaissance legislation that will bring funding and projects to those areas. Stay tuned to Spotlight on Florida because other issues we will be following include property taxes, business licensing issues, and even discussions on how businesses in Florida will deal with the penny issue. Pennies are taking center stage as merchants figure out how to make change with fewer and fewer pennies in circulation. Next up, we're going to stay at the Capitol for more updates. Last week was Tourism Day at the Capitol. Hundreds gathered for a day full of meetings, speeches from legislative leaders, and a lot more important time to network. Take a look at some of the highlights.
Here at Tallahassee, pretty excited to be back again in 2026 to lobby for Tourism Day. It's a great time with colleagues and friends trying to pave the way for tourism in the years to come.
We're the best state, we're the best place in the world. We are the world's vacation destination. And what we do in this industry makes the Florida way.
Tourism Day is very important just to make sure that our legislators understand what is important in our industry and what may have concerns of their constituents.
Up here for Tourism Day, it turns out it's a fantastic day. It looks like we're getting very good feedback from all the senators and representatives that we're getting to meet today. And it's a great thing. I would recommend everybody come and do and check it all out.
So it's great to see advocates and business owners from the tourism industry here today in Tallahassee and really appreciate the work they do. We have to make sure we maintain the positive business climate in Florida and make sure that the hard work that they're doing can continue because of good policy that we're doing here in Tallahassee, and just so much appreciate them, their investment into the communities and keeping Florida a great place to live, work, and play.
Some great highlights from Tourism Day. And now, our final headline, let's talk about air travel, specifically airports. Orlando International Airport has deferred a plan for a $2 billion car rental facility and instead will start garage expansions. The airport's new vision includes the planning and development of garage and rental car expansions at both Terminals A and C that will add 8,000 parking spaces. According to this is a news release from the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, and that's part of their new plan. The goal is to have this project completed and open for passengers by 2030. The release also notes early plans for these expansions envision multi-story structures. But details as where exactly the new facilities will be located relative to the existing garages at Terminals A and C are not immediately available. Just so you know, MCO remains one of the busiest airports in Florida and continues to see growth in passenger traffic, according to all reports recently. The most recent data from November 2025 shows a 9% increase in international travelers and 0.3% increase from domestic passengers. The airport has more than 116 domestic destinations, that's 9th in the U.S., and 60 international destinations, which is also 9th most in the U.S.
Recently, on September 19, 2022, Orlando International Airport opened up the new and highly anticipated Terminal C, which is a $2.8 billion facility that encompasses a 300-acre space that has 15 gates, which has the capacity to accommodate 20 planes. These gates are numbered C231 to C245. To top all of that off, Terminal C consists of 24 food and beverage locations, 12 retail locations, and 1 lounge, with more expansion coming in the foreseeable future. To further supplement transportation to and from the airport, Brightline, which is an intercity rail route that operates between Miami and West Palm Beach, is planning to expand into Orlando in 2023 with the train stop in Terminal C. Sunrail is also planning a rail expansion to the airport's terminal in the future, although this isn't confirmed yet, but is in future development plans. I would also speculate another service from the area of the theme parks and the International Drive and the Convention Center, all of which accommodate passengers through different means of transportation, including rail, taxi, and bus operations. If you are flying most international airlines that fly out of the airport, your flight departs and arrives in Terminal C. But this exact list I'll put on the screen. The only domestic carrier that operates out of this terminal as of 2022 is JetBlue, who recently moved their international operations on October 11th, followed by their domestic operations as of October 25th. As mentioned by the title, this video is meant to be a tour and walkthrough of the new terminal, so therefore I hope you enjoy this tour. I flew in with JetBlue from Boston to Orlando on November 6th on an Airbus A321. If you wish to see a review on this product, there should be a card at the top linking to my Phase 1 review, so feel free to have a look at that whenever possible. As we taxi to our gate, we see the exterior view of the terminal at nighttime. A good thing that is also useful for each of these gates in this terminal is that every gate has connection to US Customs and Border Protection, which was a big problem for international flights beforehand, as in Terminals A and B, they were limited to a select few gates. A new update that's also been put into place in this terminal are the increased use of facial recognition technology and scanners used for security and at the gates, plus brand new flight status boards at each gate. So far, I am enjoying the architecture of the terminal and I hope you do so as well. We've just covered the first section of the terminal, gates C230 to C238, which are the gates used by the narrow-body planes. The main portion of the terminal is where the majority of stores and restaurants are located. Also at the center is the Moment Vault, which is an immersive art installation that uses many cameras and screens to allow travelers to interact with the display, currently displaying a beautiful sea location inside and a wall with flowers outside. Now let's have a look at gates C240 to C245, which are the gates that are primarily used by wide-body planes, although on some occasions narrow-body planes park here too. Two of these gates are actually capable of handling Airbus A380s. Just like the first 8 gates, each gate has biometric boarding systems and this white and blue lighting up on the ceiling. The seating is nice and very ergonomic as well, as there are many wireless chargers built into the armrests. Plus there's also a wide array of furniture throughout the terminal. Let's have a look at the planes flying out during the evening time frame, shall we? At gate C241A is the Azul Airbus A330-200, which is getting loaded and commencing boarding for a flight out to Campinas, Brazil, departing in around half an hour. After that, at gate C243 is the Emirates Boeing 777-300ER registered A6-ECS, getting ready for an 8:20 p.m. departure out to Dubai after almost a 10-hour turnaround. Now this next plane is pretty interesting. At gate C245 is their Spinair A350-900, about to push back for a 7:30 p.m. departure out to Frankfurt. This Spinair A350 is actually operating for an airline called Eurowings Discover, a leisure low-cost European airline, substituting for Lufthansa on their...
Time now for the Spotlight on Florida event of the week. And today we are previewing the biggest event for tourism professionals so far this year, Florida Huddle and Florida Encounter. They both take place next week in Orlando, and thousands will be in attendance to plan their visit to Florida.
Get ready for one of Florida's biggest tourism events, Florida Huddle, happening at the Hilton in Orlando. It brings together travel professionals from around the world, including tour operators, destination experts, and media, all in one place with one goal: showcasing everything that makes Florida unforgettable. Think of it as speed dating for travel. In fast-paced meetings, Florida destinations pitch their beaches, attractions, hotels, and hidden gems to buyers who turn those conversations into real vacations. But Florida Huddle is more than just meetings. It's inspiration. Industry leaders share the latest travel trends, partnerships are formed, and Florida's story comes to life through experiences, networking, and hands-on discovery. This year, Florida Huddle is joined by Florida Encounter, one of the longest-running appointment trade shows in meetings and events industry. Florida Encounter connects qualified planners who directly bring businesses to Florida with local suppliers, helping book future conferences, conventions, and group travel across the state. And here's why it matters. The connections made here bring visitors into our communities. They fill hotel rooms, support local restaurants, boost small businesses, and drive tourism dollars across Florida from the Panhandle to the Keys. Whether you are in the tourism industry or just love exploring Florida, Florida Huddle and Florida Encounter are where the Sunshine State shines the brightest and where the future of Florida travel begins.
For our interview this week, we put the spotlight on the state capitol for Tourism Day. While tourism professionals were in Tallahassee meeting with lawmakers, some of them visited with us to give us an update. Here's one of those interviews.
You are looking at the Florida State Capitol, and we are inside the Senate office building, and with us now is Senator Nick DeSegli from District 18. And Senator, thanks for joining us on Spotlight on Florida.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And talk to us about all the efforts that went into, restoring your region after the back-to-back hurricanes rolled through.
Yeah, great question. So, there's two things. There's a policy, approach that we had, and then of course there's the appropriation, but, having state money coming down and focusing on infrastructure improvements, whether that's seawalls, whether that's an aqua fence for Indian Rocks Beach City Hall, for example, or just, stormwater improvements, because we just really behind when it comes to updating our infrastructure. So there was that. Really, hundreds of millions of dollars came back to Pinellas County, and, very happy that we were able to do that. From a policy standpoint, we want to make sure local governments were prepared. They just didn't have a plan in place when the storms came through. So they didn't have a plan for permitting. How is that going to be handled? How is that going to be processed? Did they have the resources available? Storm debris collection was a huge, problem that we had. So, the bill that we ran last year, Senate Bill 180, required local governments to put those plans in place. And, thankfully we had a non-existent hurricane season in 2025, but we're always looking for ways to improve those processes for local governments, and I'll always be committed to doing that.
Yeah, well, everything looks great. I was down there not too long ago, and that whole part of Florida looks amazing, and in record time,
yeah,
I must say. Okay, so you're here at session, and I know everyone's been busy working on all kinds of different bills, and what do you want to see kind of play out over this legislative session?
Yeah, we're talking a lot about property taxes and what that looks like, obviously, and I think that, along with balancing our budget, the only thing we're, constitutionally required to do is balance that budget. So we're going to do that. Hopefully we can do it in 60 days. I don't know if we can or not, but I think, property tax is something that the governor has talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. The House has proposed several bills. I think, they passed one off the floor last week. So I think that, we have an affordability issue here in the state of Florida. I think that we want folks to stay here. People have moved here in the last few years, and I do anticipate some sort of tax relief, whether that's an increase in homestead exemption or, complete elimination of property taxes. We'll see. But we're about to have those conversations here in the Senate pretty soon.
Okay, I'm here with the one and only Robert Skrobe from Destination Florida. Thanks for joining us again on Spotlight on Florida.
It's an absolute honor to be on Spotlight on Florida. I love the program, and I think it's absolutely doing the God's work here in the state of Florida, highlighting the tourism industry and bringing those stories from throughout the state to viewers all over the world.
Yeah, well, thanks for the compliment. We appreciate that. We work hard to bring you all the tourism news. So, Robert, you're here for session, and Tourism Day. Tell us kind of like what your thoughts and your what you think what you might want to see happen in 2026.
Well, there's a lot going on with the Florida legislative session about what's wrong in the state of Florida. And Florida Tourism Day is about what's working. There is actually a system in the state of Florida that generates tax revenue from people who don't live here. And in fact, more than 30% of the sales tax collected in Florida is from non-residents. And it's actually the reason why we don't have a state income tax, and it generates a savings of almost $2,000 per household. And it's simply working behind the scenes and generating that revenue on behalf of our state. And we're here today for Florida Tourism Day to celebrate that system and really is to send the message, hey, just leave it alone. It's working.
Yeah, it is, and we highlight that on Spotlight on Florida, all the positive things about the tourism industry in our state, and there's a lot to tout of positive things for tourism in Florida. I mean, let's face it, everyone wants to come here
Absolutely.
to visit. I mean, so that right there is a positive and the best start.
Well, and absolutely, not only do people want to visit, but people want to work in Florida's tourism industry. Because in fact, there has been this accusation that tourism and hospitality jobs are actually low-paying, low-wage jobs. And in fact, we've actually done a study and looking at the actual data, tourism jobs statewide are actually pay 25% more than the average wages for entry-level positions in the state of Florida. And so hospitality jobs are actually the premium opportunity throughout the state of Florida. And that's really a message that doesn't get told enough.
That's right. That's why we have Spotlight on Florida and we report it. We're going to bring it to you. So watch Spotlight on Florida for the latest in tourism news.
And like and subscribe because you really want to see the next episode of all the great stuff